Hi, and welcome to the Solano College TV Studios. My name is Mia Pimentel, and we're going to be talking about should animals be kept in captivity. I'm joined with Maui, Kiana, and Brianna. So you want to start us off, Maui?
Sure. I'm taking the stance of animals should not be kept in captivity because I just am really big on personal freedoms, and I believe that they should extend even to animals. There's a lot of evidence that shows that animals that are kept in captivity, they live shorter lives than their wild counterparts, and they exhibit signs or display like behaviors that indicate that they're stressed or unhappy. And I just feel like it's wrong that we should keep them in cages for our own personal entertainment or our own personal like learning experiences, because at the end of the day, even if we are learning about an animal that's kept in captivity, we're not necessarily learning about its wild ancestors or its wild counterparts. We're just learning about that specific animal and about it in its controlled environment. So it's not even really giving us full insight into what the animal's about.
Yeah, to go off what like Maui's talking about, these animals do experience like mental and physical health issues. So like when you see like a funny video of like a monkey like throwing poop at like, you know, the people at the zoo, it's actually a sign of like zoochosis, which a lot of animals experience. And it really just affects them physically as well, because they like to, they don't like to, but they happen to self-mutilate and like pull out their own hair and like drink their urine, and nothing is really good for them. And the only thing that could possibly help them would be to be released into the wild, because they can't really fix their mental health that's in the zoo, because the zoo is the one that's causing these issues.
So in this instance, you guys are just talking specifically about zoos, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could.
Yeah. So for that, a lot of zoos have breeding programs that allow for animals that are going to be extinct or endangered, that they are breeded to, bring them back. So it's like if the United States has an animal that China has and that animal is endangered, they can bring them together, and then they're not endangered anymore because they breed them, together.
Not to mention that, especially due to global warming and human intervention in the environment, a lot of the reason for this conservation is because without it, these animals would just be gone. The mass extinction rates due to the global climate change, and then also agriculture, just urbanization, especially in third world countries, and just kind of like the production is severely impeding on their natural habitat. So it's like, how can we return some of these creatures to their natural habitat when, one, they're not hospitable, and two, they just might not be existent anymore, or they may be like severely polluted. I think that a lot of the issue is probably not the captivity themselves, because a lot of animals have been domesticated for thousands of years. I think it's like a big thing to worry about is the human hand in it, and if it was a human problem and now we've kind of forced it to be a human solution. Especially if we talk about a lot of these animals that are in zoos mostly for either conservation or awareness. It's not like, now it's not so much, oh man, I just sure want to see this giraffe. It's giraffes are dying at an alarming rate, and now we have to bring awareness to it. Or these rhinos who are being slaughtered in the middle of their natural habitat. It's if we don't, it's good. Like, I completely agree that in a perfect world, it would be great to have them in their natural habitat, where they should be, where they have thrived, where they have, progressed for thousands of years. But the issue is that we've gotten to a point where I don't think that, especially in mid-tropics area, where things have significantly started to either the temperatures have increased, or in just globally, it's causing an effect not only on us but also on animals. So, if we don't change, then, we have no other choice but to kind of conserve what we have, maybe to bring that sort of awareness as well.
Yeah, I get your point on like intervening, because there are declining like natural habitats, but like in a lot of cases, like they're taking animals that aren't exactly endangered or in environments that are, affected, and it's just, I think if we're working on trying to, kind of replicate that environment that they grew up with, it's not really possible, I feel like. And I mean, like, for like dolphins, having this pool that they're living their entire lives in, it's not the same as living in an ocean, and having these feeding times. They're not learning these natural instincts to hunt their food. They're just kind of like, oh, we're going to get fed at 3 o'clock today by the trainer, so let's all go to the gate and wait. It's not really realistic, in my point of view.
And then, like, also when you think about it, like, if we are trying to save animals from extinction, I think it's important to think about what's causing their extinction. If it is human intervention, then I believe that it's not necessarily a call to action for us to, like, make these, or, put these animals in captivity, but more so for us to change our actions as humans. It's crazy. It's like, it's just crazy of us to, like, think that, okay, well, we're destroying their habitat, so that's why they're dying, so we're just going to take them and put them in a cage instead. Like, that's wild. Like, I understand that it's saving them, but at the same point, what's the use in saving them if we don't have their natural habitat to return them to? So we're saving them, again, for our own, like, to give ourselves a pat on the shoulder for killing them. You know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, I just feel like if we're really concerned about conservation and keeping them alive and thriving, then we need to change our culture as humans and start trying to conserve more, like start trying to lower the greenhouse gases, you know what I mean, and start changing that aspect of things, because putting them in captivity, just like Mia said, like, they're sitting there, they're waiting for their next meal to come, like, or they're just chilling, or they're getting tortured while they're being taught to learn different tricks and stuff, and it's just like, at whose expense are we protecting them for?
To go off what you're saying, like Antarctica and like polar bears, like it's definitely declining there, but putting a polar bear in like Los Angeles heat and trying to mimic this Antarctic cold, even though it's kind of declining there, you can't replicate that in a modern city.
So just an inquiry then, would you rather them be completely decimated then? Like, would you rather the extinction over the hopeful, like, the hope of rehabilitation of the societal psyche, and then we can, like, reintroduce them to the wild? Or would you rather them just be gone while we wait? Because obviously for all of these politics, we can't even get together on our own safety, about greenhouse and all this global warming. We've been told by scientists for decades now, that this is a very prominent issue, and now it's gotten to the point where it's like, if we don't change this within our generation, we are going to end up killing ourselves on our own earth. So it's like, once again, in a perfect world, like I said, it would be perfect to have these animals out in this environment. In the perfect world, we could, just, oh yeah, that makes sense. I think we should change that. But unfortunately, there's like more things at play than just, we should just be blah 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 blah. It's, if you want to go for corporate greed, or you want to go for, just the environmental factors, it's just, it would be great if we could say, yes, we can change this, but the fact of the matter is like, we are such a diverse populace, like not only just ourselves, but all over the world, where a lot of people don't share similar views, we can't even get together that, all races should be considered equal. How can we expect people to really give that much attention to animals,
So I think we kind of touched on what sides we kind of support and not support. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to try and come to a consensus. So stay tuned.
Welcome to TV 55. In this hands-on class at Solano Community College, you will learn all aspects of television production, how to use high-end cameras, lighting, and audio equipment in the field and right here in the studio. Whether you are looking at making better YouTube videos, educational or promotional segments, or finding your creative passion, enroll today. Get an art school education at the fraction of the cost. Visit us online at solano.edu.
Welcome back. So we're going to continue our discussion on whether animals should be kept in captivity, and we're going to try and come to a consensus. Do you guys want to, who wants to start?
I can. So I'm like, I understand all the benefits of, it's hard to say I understand the benefits of captivity, but I guess I understand the benefits of like the breeding programs and stuff, and I understand the importance of that. While I still can't say that I necessarily support the captivity of the animals, I'm like, I guess I would more so, I would like to see like whatchamacallit, like land that's set aside, protected land for these animals in their natural habitat. So it's like, if with the rhinos and stuff, like it's incredibly difficult. Like I remember I learned about that as a kid, like them cutting off rhinos' horns or like gorilla hands and stuff to make ashtrays. Like that's sick. But if you have like a protected area that's truly protected and people understand how important it is, then those animals are allowed to thrive in their natural habitat and in their natural environment. But yeah, to me it's just really hard to think of like taking, because I know I wouldn't like to be taken from my natural, where I grew up, like somebody taking me from the Bay Area, and like my worst fear is like having to live in New York with the snow and stuff. So somebody like dropped me in New York and was like,
I thought you were going to say like prison.
Prison's also another big fear.
Prison in the snow, like a Siberian prison.
But yeah, just dropping me in this area and being like, here, this is your new home now.
Yeah.
Like, and this is when you eat. I guess, yeah, prison is a really good comparison. I wouldn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I liked what you were saying earlier about getting to the root of the problem, which is we're tearing down their habitats, we're killing them, people are killing them for no reason, for trophy hunting. Like, that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, and I think like zoos, they don't really have endangered animals as their, as their animals in their captivity. But I think putting endangered animals and building it up with a breeding program and releasing them back, I think that would make a more positive effect than having, like an animal that has that's not even on the endangered species list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I concur.
And I think like those animals that do have those like effects, and like especially ones that are being aggressive, which we don't really touch on in the first half, but they should really be, there's a reason they're being so aggressive. They're not used to this little tiny area. Just like in Six Flags in Vallejo, they had in like 2012 they had one of their orcas be aggressive with a trainer, and I think like it's because it's lived in this tiny little pool and it's this huge animal. I think it should be released back into the wild and like kind of had this go back to its roots almost in a way.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the main thing is like a lot of people think that it's like trying to set up like a healthy environment for the animal, because we're not talking about like poor poor environmental I definitely agree, like a giant orca should not be an itty bitty tank, like that's just inhumane. But that's not the same as like I know like the Bronx Zoo did this big thing where there was a specific sort of frog that only lived underneath one certain dam, and then when it was dammed up, then they were all dying at an alarming rate. But then they had to like basically you guys had been saying, like it's just like the breeding process and trying to reintroduce them into an environment that would be more beneficial for them. And I think that that's just like the main thing is like, because I don't think, especially in this day and age, anybody wants to keep anything particularly in captivity. It's mostly about awareness, and I think and conservation and hopefully rehabilitation. And I think the main thing is that we really need to work on is just I guess like the social like awareness
Yeah.
factor of like, if they're dying at an alarming rate, what's happening to them that can also affect us? And I think that's the only way that we can really start to turn things around, is if we unfortunately add a selfish factor, and I think that could and in seeing nature, I think that you could also learn a lot, and you can learn to appreciate a lot. And I think that in the end, I think that would be a lot more beneficial for us all than trying to, polarize the subject.
Yeah.
I just think it sucks. We live in such like a selfish society where it's just take. And it's like before the Americas were even colonized, like indigenous people practice subsistence hunting, which is basically you hunt what you need, you don't overhunt, you don't hunt for fun, you use every part of the animal. And it's like people don't do that. Like, indigenous people still practice it, but it's like the majority of people who go hunting is for like trophy hunting, and it's like they have no purpose doing it.
Yeah.
It's just fun for them.
Yeah. Yeah, animals definitely should have their rights, like they're a part of this earth, and they have this food chain, and it inadvertently it affects us. And I think like there should be more regulations and stuff, and especially like within zoos, like with like people coming too close to the enclosure and like getting attacked. Like at least the zoo should, make a barrier that protects us, but also on our side, people shouldn't be that stupid to try and reach in and take a picture, with a jaguar or something like that. Just like natural selection.
I do know that zoos are trying to make it into a more habitable space. It's not like they're behind, it's like strictly behind bars anymore. Like I know a lot of the zoos are actually starting to open up, trying to have like kind of more open plains. Trying to do like quantity control, and it's just. I don't know. I think it's just like an important aspect. Also, like you have to take personal accountability, like especially with some of these, like the attacks or whatever. It's not like the animal broke out and attacked. It was more the person had.
Yeah, it was like coerced.
Had very much like, oh yeah, I see all of these berries that told me to keep out, but then I'm just gonna jump over it anyways. Oh man, now a tiger attacked me. I'm gonna blame the tiger for some reason.
Yeah, I'm like, what kills me is like when they end up like euthanizing the animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like the animal's the only thing that did what it was supposed to do. Like the only person in this equation that actually acted the way it was supposed to was the animal, and now we kill it. Like, yeah, it drives me nuts. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like don't they have like? I think they should really like focus on tranquilizing the animal rather. If it's being aggressive and like like with that whole situation with like Harambe, the gorilla, and like the child fell into the enclosure, like they didn't have to just gun it down right there in front of everyone.
Well, usually the
And they could've
procedures
tranked it.
aren't that they just gun it down. Usually it is tranquilization. It's just the fact that, especially if it is being hostile and it is like in danger of like the child, like you shouldn't obviously like euthanize it later. It's like kicking the dog when like 5 hours after it's peed. Like it's like way too. One, you shouldn't be kicking the dog. Second of all, it doesn't know what it did wrong because something else like an outside force. But I mean, but usually it is just tranquilization and then removal, or distracted. It's just that happened to be a severe case.
Yeah.
That it was obviously like publicized and for just reasons. So
Rest in peace, Harambe.
yeah. 2016 Harambe. This is how Harambe.
So
can
any
still be
final
president.
thoughts before we go?
I appreciate this conversation. I like the different ideas that were shared because I like I said, it is still hard for me to say that I believe that animals should be kept in captivity. However, like I do see the benefits to, like I said, breeding programs, making sure that we're bringing awareness to the issue. I wish that the awareness that we brought would more so change our actions as humans, as far as like being less wasteful, I guess, or less like polluting. But I'm like, I wish that we were able to just set aside more land for them and kind of like, instead of forcing animals to adapt to us, kind of adapting to their needs a little bit more.
Cohabitation.
Yeah. Whoa, scary.
So thank you for joining us. So we'll see you next time.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's
nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
Get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you know, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one.
Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three! And it's good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock, Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots ever.
the sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.